Awesome. Perfect. Gotta save something for the audience as well, right?
There you
And
go.
keep this in. Awesome. Great. So just like Hasham introduced himself, myself, Murad, he says he keeps the clients' cloud infrastructure happy and healthy. I make sure my team is happy and healthy. So I
Great.
kind of trying to relate it with the healthcare side. But all right, I am excited to begin this interview. And we absolutely love talking to experts in the industry to always get to know more. And these kind of informative sessions are absolutely excellent for us as well. So, to begin with, Steve, it would be great if you could give us an introduction about yourself for us
Sure.
and the audience. Yep.
Yeah. So Steve Serota, I am the CEO of Atalan, the Access to Access Laboratory Network. I am also the president and chief operating officer of Wisconsin Diagnostic Laboratories and the chief laboratory officer for the Prater Health System. Uh, WDL, or the Wisconsin Diagnostic Laboratories, is a wholly owned subsidiary of Prater Health and is a large commercial reference and hospital health system laboratory. Atalan is a SaaS platform, and obviously Prater Health is a large scale academic medical center and health system located in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Awesome. Perfect. And how long have you been in the healthcare industry for?
So I've been in the healthcare industry about 18 years now. Started my career at Rush in Chicago, then moved over to Northwestern, and have been with WDL in the Freighter Health System for about 7 years now.
Did you, be honest, did you move because of the Chicago winter or was it other reasons?
Actually, I didn't move. I still live in Northern Illinois,
Oh,
and
okay.
it's not
Beautiful
much better
place.
from a weather perspective.
Awesome, awesome. That's excellent. That's excellent. All right, Stephen. So we'll try to ask a few questions to get more
Sure.
information, and we'll improvise along the way as to how this goes. Uh, Regarding your experience in healthcare, something. Firstly, we would love to know how closely associated are you on the technical side of your industry?
So I always like to joke that laboratories are just IT companies that happen to do testing.
I love
So
that
with the
line.
quantity, yeah, and with the quantity of data that comes out of hospital clinical laboratories, it's really imperative that we have a core technological infrastructure that allows for interoperability, long-term storage, and appropriate data retrieval. So it is a subcomponent that we work with very in depth to make sure that we've got the right platform to be able to support not only our employees but ultimately our patients.
Awesome, awesome, perfect. And we researched a little about Wisconsin laboratories. So basically, if you could tell a little more about how you guys operate, like, and how it separates you out from other similar functioning industry companies.
Yeah, so the real differentiator for Wisconsin Diagnostic Laboratories is our directed patient-centered focus on care optimization. So we built the laboratory really around the idea that access to high-value laboratory medicine is critical for optimized patient care. And everything that we have done is really in support of that mission, whether it be ensuring that we've got infrastructure necessary to meet clinically relevant turnaround times, or ensuring that our IT infrastructure can be supportive of creating the interconnectivity necessary to allow physicians and patients access to the right time at the right test for the right reason. And ultimately and longitudinally ensuring that we have a data infrastructure that can be supportive of research and innovation in a way that we can help to drive the healthcare industry forward.
Excellent, excellent, amazing. And would you say that you guys are also offering mobile testing with the entire infrastructure that you have at the moment? Because given our experience with working with lab-based companies, and
Yep.
we've done some extensive work in providing services for um, automated test results, especially with physicians and their portals, and how to effectively translate their data to the end customer. And mobile testing was something of a solution we found very interesting in our experience. So, what are your thoughts on that?
So when you say mobile testing, I assume you're talking direct to consumer testing. So
Mobile
testing is
labs,
defined.
maybe like, mobile labs,
Oh,
the one. Yeah, those mobile
so
testing labs.
we have multiple access points that exist within our infrastructure, which is
Hmm.
inclusive of in-office phlebotomists for physician offices. We have independent patient care centers where where patients can go and get drawn, as well as strategic relationships with a multitude of different healthcare providers that act as our front-facing connection to the patient.
Hmm.
We largely don't provide what I would call true mobile lab services, but we do have a team of phlebotomists that provide at-home collections and or supportive services for businesses.
Right. Do you plan on introducing mobile lab testing for your for your patient's head?
The current iterations of truly mobile-based lab services um, tend to have some efficacy challenges.
Hmm.
So our focus is always on ensuring the only thing worse than having access to no testing is having access to bad testing. So what we really try to make sure is that all the tests that we perform have appropriate clinical relevance and are completely applicable when it comes to making appropriate clinical decisions. So first and foremost, we make sure that any test that we bring up and offer through our platform has appropriate clinical relevance and has a sensitivity and specificity that is appropriate for servicing our patients. So as new technologies emerge, there may be a time in the future that we would dig deeper into that space. But at the moment, we believe the best way to service our patients is through having brick and mortar access or brick and
Hmm.
mortar locations that allow us to perform standardized testing.
Awesome, awesome. And given today's current IT challenges, I always love talking about these angles. What do you think are some unique challenges you currently think your company or similar companies in the industry face, particularly in the data analysis and management part?
So I think first and foremost, the ability to have comprehensive interoperability
Mm.
is by far, I think, the biggest barrier that we have to being able to collectively work together in a meaningful way around patient-centered service. So that goes without saying. As to your directed question around informatics, data storage, and otherwise, I think it has to do a lot with the fact that we have a multitude of systems without truly normalized data, which
Hmm.
makes the storage, retrieval, and interpretation incredibly difficult when you're talking about inputs coming from a multitude of services.
Absolutely.
And that becomes even more pressing when you talk about things like clinical results.
Mm.
Because and I know I'm probably preaching to the choir here, but if you can run two separate tests that are called ostensibly the same thing on two different platforms, and the results are not necessarily one-to-one and
Mm.
congruent. And if you're not well aware of that, what you'll see is on this platform, you had a 1.5, on this platform, you had a 2.5. Now, practically from a clinical perspective, they may be identical, but based on the reporting structure and the way the data is designed, it could appear as though there's some change in your clinical state.
Mm.
So making sure that we are getting to a place where that data is normalized and interpreted appropriately is really essential to what we do.
This is excellent. And the reason why I find this extra fascinating is because it aligns so well with one of our expertise, which is integration. Because if integration's not being done
Yeah,
right, that is like that could be catastrophic, specifically in the healthcare industry. And
understood.
we realized that while working with multiple over like the last decade with multiple healthcare industries, this wrong integration capabilities and not being able to present the right form of data to your customers
Yep.
or even to internal decision makers, which are going to make decisions based off that data, that could turn the whole game upside down. And
With
just based off of wrong integration. That's why our favorite space, and you may have seen in our tagline, like we provide integration services and cloud solutions because they go so hand in hand, because
absolutely.
you have to make sure that all of that this is I think that kind of a mind-reading answer you gave over there, that this is definitely one element of a challenge that still exists, and not a one-size-fits-all solution for this, but a careful analysis of the system, I believe, and then the recommended upgrades and everything are the key solution towards solving these problems. And what I find interesting is what we were reading through Wisconsin Laboratories website. Yeah, it mentioned that you guys do around 6 million test results, I believe, throughout the year. Now, that's a very fascinating number. And how do you say that your infrastructure and cloud technologies are stable enough to manage such a high load? And with what level of frictionless approach do you say that this is very efficient? Or do you see challenges in this as well?
Yeah, so at a macro level, and actually we've grown pretty dramatically, and our overall system is going to be probably closer to about 15 million by the end of the next couple of years with this, is we've
Wow.
continued to grow really exponentially. The biggest issue that we see really is not on the initial interpretation of or ability to have those results funnel through into our system, but it's how we're able to interconnect to other systems and transmit that data in a clean, concise, and consistent fashion with zero errors. Because right in healthcare, this is a net sum game. You have to be perfect.
Of course.
A single data transcription error can have absolutely catastrophic effects on a patient. So as we look at our infrastructure or any net new integrations that we undertake, our focus really comes back to how are we ensuring we are perfect? How are we ensuring that our testing methodologies are capturing every potential deviation of that data to ensure that the end result we're providing to the patient or the clinician is a direct representation of the initial generated data. And that is an area, obviously, that we put an immense amount of time and focus on, but is always an area that we are looking to innovate and look for newer and novel solutions. Because at the end of the day, that integration is how we expand access beyond our four walls, and
Right.
that becomes incredibly important, especially when you're thinking about the long-term growth of an organization.
Right. So you would say it's safe to assume that right now you guys are, or not just right now, you guys are constantly and very actively working on improving integrations to take that number from 6 million to 15 million a year.
Yeah, we're continuing to push that. Some of that is through organic growth, some of that is through acquisition growth, and some of that is through partnership growth in our different areas. But at the end of the day, we are seeing that the utilization of laboratory medicine is only increasing, and that's because of its core role within precision medicine at a macro, right? Laboratory medicine is the foundation of healthcare, because without the data that's provided out of the lab, it's incredibly difficult to create personalized clinical care plans for patients. So as we see the continued move in the healthcare industry towards a more data-centric approach, the lab stands at the forefront of that data creation. So we recognize that we can't just rest on our laurels and do what we've always done. We need to be at the front end of innovation, and we need to start to look very deeply at the way that not only we manage our data, we control and store our data, but also that we retrieve that data and create meaningful interpretations to help drive innovation into the future.
Excellent. Excellent. That's great. And this
About
might
that,
be, yeah, go on, Hasham.
I wanted to ask about the scalability challenges. Like if you're
Yeah.
dealing with such a high level of data, then how are you, what cloud technologies are you using to ensure that you have the infrastructure which can support such decisions and such level of scalability?
Yeah, and so from our perspective, obviously, data security becomes a core focus for us on that, and we only use HIPAA compliant cloud serving or cloud services We use a couple of different ones depending on which of the entities we're talking about here. One of the main ones we obviously are using is AWS as a core component for us. When it comes to serviceability, while we are generating an immense amount of data, and that data is continuing to increase because it is not only tactical tech data or text data, but there are images, there are other subcomponents that obviously require large amounts of data storage, especially as we move towards digital pathology, which is where we're moving to in the future. Where we see the biggest challenge today is really around the normalization and interpretation of that data and about speed to access and retrieval. At our current levels, our current partners have been able to meet those demands. The normalization of data is still very problematic for us. But from a storage and retrieval perspective, we've got that working relatively well, but I think we do need to continue to understand what new innovations are coming into the marketplace that will allow us to scale faster, be more cost effective, and ultimately be more responsive and able to interpret and transfer our data in the ways that we need to be able to support our clients and our patients.
Excellent. And speaking of this, because you definitely need to have a very secure, fast, efficient, data-driven architecture and a very stable cloud solution for this. How often would you think that you experience a downtime in any of the systems, and how quickly is it reported, and how quickly is it resolved in the given situation?
Yeah, so currently we have a phenomenal team who has kept our downtime very, very minimal. The downtimes that we do experience are planned, and they are almost always for proactive security assessment and change, which is obviously at the forefront with what's going on with cybersecurity threats across the industry, especially in healthcare. That's an area that we focus on very in depth. And we certainly, or at least I'll certainly stand here and tell you that I am not the expert in the space, and we go out of our way to ensure that we find those folks who are the best and most vetted in the industry to be able to ensure that we secure our all of our patient and client data. The multitude or the magnitude of information that we carry obviously poses certain inherent risks, and it is behoovent on us to put as many mitigating steps in as is possible to really make sure that we are incredibly secure in all aspects of our data storage.
Nice, very nice. And now I'm gonna say like a buzzword, but I don't want to make it a buzzword. But
yeah,
how about the usage of AI? Drum rolls.
No, so you know what? I think I am a big believer in the promise of what AI can bring. The laboratory industry is perfectly positioned as a microcosm for the larger healthcare industry to be one of the earlier staged rollout areas. When I'm talking about that, I'm talking about clinically associated AI. I'm not talking about necessarily just native word.
Right. Yep.
But the interpretation of clinical data at a large scale by appropriately generated AI algorithms in partnership with pathologists, I think has a tremendous opportunity not only to capture and identify less common conditions and ensure that our accuracy in diagnosis is to the utmost, but it also has the ability to expand the productivity of our pathologists by providing pre-screens, which are incredibly useful when it comes to identifying very low-risk patient groups. So I think we are very interested in how we can integrate AI service tools on the front end of our overall laboratory infrastructure to ensure that we get the best back-end result for our patients. All of that stated, it needs to occur in a meaningful, well-vetted process to ensure absolute accuracy. Again, the type of data that we're dealing with and the impacts it can have on patient care are such that we can't be guessing. We have to be validating and revalidating all subcomponents of our process to assure accuracy.
Of course. So AI is in the plans as if integrating with this.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think we should talk about, there is a multitude. When we say AI, it's a little like when in healthcare people say cancer.
Yeah.
Not one thing, right?
Exactly. And I'm glad you are already on that frequency of understanding that.
Yeah, and I think there are pieces in the AI in the whole AI paradigm that we can start to implement really at scale today. And then there are other areas that we need a couple of more iterations of service. It is my belief that it will be incredibly difficult for us all to ever get all the way here, but there's somewhere right in the middle where you can create a true partnership between the technology and the human resources that ultimately will optimize patient care.
Nice. And speaking of this, because when we closely work with integrations, especially APIs are something that we always have to be on top of. And I love saying this quote. It's not mine. It's from a MuleSoft CTO, global CTO level. That I love the term. It said, "You cannot spell API without AI." You see what I did there, right? So, so like that way. But at the end of the day, coming down to how it supports everything at a macro level and at a micro level, anything to enhance user experience, just like you mentioned, is something absolutely critical, especially for the healthcare industry. Excellent.
Well, in one of the main areas that I think hasn't gotten maybe as much emphasis, which I would love to see some increased areas of focus, is really on that data normalization piece. Right. So that is an area that is my belief that fits beautifully into the AI paradigm that really could have some monumentally positive impacts on not only operational efficiency, but at the end of the day, expanded access to new technologies. If we could get folks and platforms speaking the same language in real time, that's an incredibly valuable tool to have.
Excellent.
And that leads back to what you said, your emphasis is on integration, right? So if we can figure out ways to do that faster, better, and more accurately, that benefits us all.
I think it could be some really interesting ongoing conversations on that part between us. That should be something interesting to look on. And one last question, more of a curveball question, would be, let us know your bold prediction in the healthcare industry in terms of either integrations, cloud computing, or anywhere you see a big challenge currently exists, even in the data normalization stage. What would be a bold prediction of 2024?
Yeah, I think through 2024, what you're going to see is the emergence of more integrated partner networks, specifically in the laboratory industry, where you are bringing divergent organizations together, having to create normalized data structures, which allows individual organizations to expand their reach beyond their local geographies. And overall, through those partnerships, increasing the capacity to serve and the availability of innovative diagnostic tools to populations that, classically speaking, haven't had access to those tools. And as we see healthcare continuing to move toward a more data-centric approach for clinical care, having access to those tools is going to make all the difference in patient outcomes. So I think AI, IT infrastructure, cloud computing all sit really right at the heart of where healthcare is moving in the future. And having strong IT partners to be able to develop those really essential integrations that really, foundational data normalization and the development of integrated database tools that allow us to go in, evaluate that data, and look for macro trends. That is going to be the difference maker and the rapid accelerator in the improvement in healthcare through 2024 and into the future.
Amen to that bold prediction, because this is absolutely music to our ears, and because these
I think
are
you guys are right in the right space.
Yeah,
This
exactly,
is
because
the place to be.
yeah, this is our forte, and this is something that we closely work on, integrations, and especially on the cloud management level, something that kind of gets us excited every single day. So I think that, this is super helpful, Steven. We really, really appreciate your time for this. And I'm glad we wanted to, I'm sure these topics are such expandable because the conversations could go on and on, but I definitely, want to make sure that we keep the time limit where we don't take too much of your time. And we want our audience to consume this as much as possible. I think we've got some great points, great things from your side that we'd love to mention. And I think this has been great, and we will stay in touch. And I'm sure there would be amazing possibilities of possible collaborations, expansion, however they may be in the future. And I can already see this coming flow.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so
much.
much
Very much. Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you. Have a good day.